Thank you for joining me again for the next instalment of the training session. So now we are going to go on to talk about occupational diseases and conditions. So, different things that you might come across in a construction site is things like occupational asthma. So that is things that have caused you issue because you've been breathing in harmful dusts and fumes and things like that. So it's caused by the inhalation of substances, wood dust and chemicals. You need to be assuming that any kind of dust at all is dangerous. So any time that you're going to be working with dust, you need to make sure you've got the correct respiratory protective equipment in place for it. Allergic dermatitis is also something that you might come across whilst you are working in construction sites. It is caused by contact with a sensitizer, and a sensitizer is anything at all that can cause you an allergic reaction to your skin when you touch it. You can also get things like chemical burns and dermatitis. Chemical burns is caused by contact with a substance such as concrete, so if you're working with wet cement, you need to make sure that you are correctly protected, otherwise you can burn yourself and get skin burns and dermatitis. In terms of PPE, when you're working with wet cement, the main one is Wellington boots, so that your legs are protected in case it comes up and splashes you. Tetanus can be contracted through an open cut in your skin as well, so that's another important one to remember. Weil's disease, otherwise known as leprotosis, is something that you can come across whilst you're on construction as well, as it is transmitted through rats and dairy cattle. So if you're working with water or water-flow sites and sewage, you need to be very cautious of things like leprotosis. Risks for it can be minimised by wearing gloves, covering cuts and grazes, and washing hands before you're eating. Symptoms of it are very, very similar to things like influenza for the flu, and if it's left untreated, it can actually lead to kidney problems and be fatal. So to give you an example of something that was completely unrelated to construction, and it was actually a Tesco delivery driver, I've got an article here where the delivery driver turned yellow after catching Weil's disease because he was handling rat and urine-soaked packaging when he was in the warehouse. So the rat urine was going into the parcels and he was manually handling the parcels, and that actually made him get Weil's disease. So he contracted it through a minor cut in his eye, so it's not something that you would have really considered, and certainly when he started to become very poorly, they didn't know what was wrong with him because they didn't make the connection immediately to Weil's disease. After 2 weeks of battling extreme flu-like symptoms, his eyes and skin both turned a violent shade of yellow and he could barely walk. It is very important that you catch it as soon as possible, and if you are working in those sort of areas where there's a possibility of Weil's disease, if you start to get flu-like symptoms, you need to make sure you get treated as soon as possible. Tetanus, otherwise known as lockjaw, is a disease of the nervous system. So it enters the body through cuts and grazes, and germs and bacteria are found in contaminated soil. Early symptoms include increased difficulty in opening your mouth and jaw, hence the name lockjaw, painful muscle spasms, and a rapid heartbeat. So again, it's something else for you to keep aware of, much like Weil's disease, by covering up cuts and grazes and making sure that you're using hand hygiene for washing hands before you eat food. You can reduce the risk of getting it, however, the symptoms are a bit more obvious than the flu-like symptoms of Weil's disease. Legionella is another one for you. It is a form of pneumonia. It comes from bacteria found in warm, damp places. It is caused by breathing in contaminated water, and there's an article here that describes a gardener who was actually killed because he breathed in the contaminated water after not clearing out his hose properly following the gardening season. So it can actually be a result of excess runoff water that filters through as well. Then finally, something else for you to be aware of whilst you are working on construction sites, especially in the summer season where it is very, very hot, is skin cancer. So sun can obviously burn your skin, and if that is burnt very badly, it can blister, and it can actually also cause skin cancer over a prolonged period of time as well. So you need to make sure that you are wearing skin protection, whether it's long sleeves and also sun cream as well would be the most beneficial to you. Make sure the sun cream is properly washed in, rubbed in, and reapplied when needed. So I've got another activity here for you, and we're going to take a break before moving on to talking about the hazard signs. So for this activity, if you use the activity sheet that I have sent out over to you, It's the second activity sheet for the hazard signs, and I want you to write beside each hazard the name of the hazard that it is reflecting to. Don't panic if you're not sure. We're going to go over all of them in a couple of minutes in the next section anyway, but please do have a go, and for everyone that you get correct, just mark it correct. Any that you're not sure about or you've put the wrong answer to, write the right answer beside it. Thank you. Bye.